My parents pawned my $3,600 0 cents Dream PC to bankroll my sister's lavish shopping spree, so I walked away, and what I unleashed next turned their world upside down in ways they never saw coming. Rain battered the windows of my Seattle apartment, a relentless drumbeat that matched the storm brewing in my chest. I'm Lucas Carter, 24, a cybersecurity specialist by day, competitive esports warrior by night. For years, I'd poured every spare dollar, every late-night hustle, into building my dream, a $5,000 0 cents custom PC that wasn't just a machine but the beating heart of my ambition. It was my gateway to freelance contracts, my arena for gaming tournaments, my proof that I could carve out a future on my own terms. That rig was more than circuits and steel. It was my defiance against a world that always seemed to shove me to the sidelines. I'd just gotten back from a coffee run with Jake, my best friend and the only person who got why I'd spent 4 years scraping together cash for a computer. We'd been geeking out over the upcoming Pacific Northwest Esports Invitational, a tournament with a $50,000 0 cents prize pool that could put my name on the map. I was buzzing, already planning my practice sessions. When I pushed open the door to my bedroom, the sight hit me like a freight train. My desk, a shrine to my grind, usually glowing with RGB lights and humming with power, was empty. No monitor, no keyboard, no meticulously crafted tower with its liquid-cooled CPU and GTX 4080. Just a barren slab of wood, mocking me with its silence. My heart slammed against my ribs. I dropped my coffee, the cup splattering across the hardwood. For a split second, I thought I'd been robbed, but the rest of the apartment was untouched. My bed still unmade, my posters still tacked to the wall. This wasn't a random break-in. This was personal. I tore downstairs, my sneakers thudding against the steps, and found my parents in the living room, sipping wine like they were in a damn rom-com. Mom was curled up on the couch, scrolling through her phone, while Dad flipped through a car magazine, the picture of suburban calm. "Where's my PC?" My voice came out sharper than I meant, slicing through their cozy little scene. Mom glanced up, her face as placid as the Puget Sound on a windless day. "Oh, we sold it," she said, like she was announcing they'd run out of milk. I froze, my brain struggling to process the words. "You sold it? My $5,000 0 cents rig? The one I built with my own money?" Dad sighed, setting his magazine down with a deliberate slowness that made my skin crawl. "Lucas, don't be dramatic. Your sister needed funds for a photo shoot. Some big fashion brand reached out to her. It's a huge opportunity." A photo shoot. I could feel my pulse in my temples, a throbbing rhythm of rage. "You sold my career for Ava's Instagram clout?" Let me back up. My family's not your average dysfunctional unit. They're a masterclass in favoritism. My sister Ava is 20, an aspiring influencer who lives for likes, follows, and the next viral TikTok trend. She's got this magnetic charm that's convinced our parents she's destined for fame. Designer bags, ring lights, and trips to LA for networking events. They've poured every spare cent into her dreams, even when it meant leaving me in the dust. Growing up, I heard the same refrain. "Lucas, you're tough. You can handle it. Ava needs us more." Whether it was skipping my science fair to fund her cheerleading camp or borrowing my birthday cash for her new phone, I was always the collateral damage in their quest to make Ava a star. I'd learned to cope, burying myself in freelance gigs and gaming to stay out of their orbit. That PC was my escape, my rebellion, a fortress I'd built from scratch, paid for with late-night coding jobs and every tip I'd earned bussing tables. It wasn't just a tool, it was a statement that I didn't need their approval to succeed. And now, it was gone. "How much?" I demanded, my voice low but shaking. "How much did you get for it?" $1,500, Dad said, leaning back in his recliner like he just closed a savvy business deal. "It was just sitting there, Lucas. You're always glued to it, playing games. Ava's photo shoot could open doors. Real doors. Just sitting there?" I was shouting now, and I didn't care. That PC was my livelihood. I use it for freelance contracts. Real clients, real money. I'm prepping for a tournament that could change my life, and you sold it for $1,500? Mom rolled her eyes, setting her wine glass down with a clink. Stop being so selfish. Ava's on the verge of a breakthrough. You can always save up again. Save up again? I laughed, a bitter, hollow sound. 4 years, Mom. 4 years of grinding, skipping meals, saying no to nights out so I could afford that rig, and you think I can just save up again? Dad waved a hand, dismissing me like I was a kid throwing a tantrum. Your little computer hobbies aren't a real job. Lucas, Ava's building a brand. That's the future. I stood there, fists clenched, the room spinning. My parents weren't just clueless. They were complicit, choosing Ava's fleeting fame over my actual achievements. I stormed upstairs, my mind a blur of anger and disbelief, and texted Jake. They sold my PC. For Ava's photo shoot, $1,500. I'm losing it! His reply came seconds later. WTF? They didn't even ask you? That's straight up theft, man. I paced my room, the empty desk taunting me. Every cable, every screw, every late-night build session flashed through my mind. That PC wasn't just hardware. It was my proof that I could make it without them, and they'd ripped it away without a second thought. I needed answers, and Ava was the next stop. I barged into her room where she was filming a dance video, twirling in front of a ring light like the world owed her an Oscar. Ava, I said, my voice tight, did you know Mom and Dad sold my PC? She didn't even pause, adjusting her hair in the mirror. Oh, that? Yeah, they mentioned it. It's just a computer, Lucas. Chill. Just a computer? I stepped closer, forcing her to look at me. That was my work, my future. You knew how much it meant to me. Did you tell them to sell it? She smirked, finally meeting my eyes. I might have said you barely use it for anything important. You're always gaming, not working. They needed cash for my shoot with Lux Vibe. It's a huge deal. You wouldn't get it. My vision blurred with rage. You suggested it? You knew exactly what you were doing, didn't you? Ava shrugged, turning back to her mirror. Not my fault they listened. Maybe if you weren't so obsessed with your little tech toys, you'd see what's actually important. I'm building a brand, Lucas. You're just playing. I wanted to scream, to shake her until she understood the gravity of what she'd done. But Ava didn't care. She never had. She was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong, and I was just the background noise in her spotlight. I walked out before I said something I'd regret, my hands trembling. The next few days were a blur of fury and desperation. I was stuck using an old laptop that wheezed through basic tasks, let alone the complex cybersecurity projects I had lined up. A major client, a local startup, emailed me with a deadline. Lucas, we need the security audit by Friday or we're pulling the contract. Without my PC, I was screwed. My software wouldn't run, my files were inaccessible, and every keystroke felt like wading through mud. Jake was my lifeline, calling me late at night to keep me from spiraling. This is insane, Lucas, he said, his voice crackling through my phone. They stole from you. You gotta do something. I know, I muttered, staring at the ceiling. But what? They don't even think they did anything wrong. Get proof, he said. Receipts, bank statements, anything that shows the PC was yours. Then confront them. Hard. He was right. I spent the next day digging through old emails, PayPal records, and photos of my build process, piecing together evidence that the PC was mine, bought and paid for with my own sweat. But I needed to know who had my rig. I called the number Dad gave me for the buyer. A gruff voice answered, belonging to a guy named Vince, a reseller with a reputation for dealing in gray market tech. $2,000, Sen said, when I tracked him down to a rundown warehouse in South Seattle. That's what it'll take to get your rig back. Non-negotiable. $2,000? I snapped. You paid my parents $1,500, 0 cents, for a $5,000 0 setup. Vince chuckled, a low, menacing sound. Kid, you're lucky I'm even talking to you. This PC's got some interesting files on it. Client data, right? Be a shame if that got out. My stomach dropped. My PC held sensitive information, encrypted, sure, but not invulnerable. If Vince was tied to the hacking rings I'd heard about, he could crack it. Or worse, sell it to someone who could. I was in over my head, standing in a dimly lit alley with two of Vince's goons eyeing me like I was prey. "I'll get you the money," I said, my voice steady despite the fear clawing at my chest. "But if you touch those files, I'll make sure you regret it." Vince smirked, leaning closer. "Big talk for a kid who can't even keep his toys safe." "You got 3 days." I walked away, the rain soaking through my jacket, my mind racing. This wasn't just about the PC anymore. It was about protecting my clients, my reputation, everything I'd built. Back home, my parents were oblivious, chatting about Ava's latest brand deal like I hadn't just been threatened by a criminal. I tried to focus, but the pressure was crushing. My esports team captain texted me, "Lucas, you've missed 2 practices. We need you at 100% for the invitational or you're out." I couldn't lose my spot, not when I was so close to breaking through. I confronted Ava again, hoping for a shred of remorse. She was live on Instagram, flaunting a new leather jacket. "You're jealous," she laughed when I brought up the PC. "I'm about to hit 1 million followers and you're whining about a computer?" "You told them to sell it," I said, my voice low. "You knew what it meant to me." She rolled her eyes, her phone still recording. "God, Lucas, get over it. Maybe if you weren't so boring, Mom and Dad wouldn't have to prioritize me." That was it, the final straw. Ava wasn't just indifferent. She was reveling in my pain, using it to fuel her narrative of the perfect daughter. I knew then that I couldn't stay in this house, under their roof where my dreams were disposable. But getting out wasn't going to be easy, not with Vince's threat looming, my clients breathing down my neck, and my team ready to cut me loose. I had to fight back, not just for my PC, but for my future, and I had to do it fast, before everything I'd worked for slipped away. The rain hadn't let up in Seattle, a relentless gray curtain that mirrored the storm raging inside me. I stood in my new Capitol Hill studio, a 300-square-foot box with peeling paint and a flickering light bulb, staring at my reclaimed PC. It was back my $5,000 0-cents lifeline, the heart of my cybersecurity work and esports dreams. But the victory felt hollow. The reseller's smirk as I handed over $2,000 0 cents still burned in my mind. His parting words a venomous promise. "I kept a copy of your data, kid. Hope you're ready for the consequences." My client files, my tournament strategies, my entire digital life, potentially in the hands of a lowlife tied to a hacking ring. I'd fortified my systems, but the threat lingered like a shadow I couldn't shake. I plugged in the rig, the familiar hum of fans grounding me, but my relief was short-lived. My phone buzzed with a text from my esports team captain, "Mia. Lucas, you're on thin ice. Rival teams talking smack, saying you're distracted. Prove them wrong at practice tomorrow, or we're cutting you." The Pacific Northwest Invitational was 2 weeks away, a $50,000 0 cents prize pool dangling like a lifeline, and I couldn't afford to lose my spot. But with my parents' betrayal fresh, Ava's smug indifference, and the reseller's threat, focus felt like chasing a ghost. I called Jake, my anchor in this chaos. "Man, I got the PC back, but this Vince guy, he's got my data, and my team's ready to ditch me." Jake's voice crackled through the phone, steady but urgent. "Lucas, you're in deep. That reseller's bad news. Word is he's linked to the Darknet Syndicate, a hacking crew that's been hitting tech firms. You need to lock down your accounts and get out of your parents' orbit. They're toxic." "Toxic doesn't cover it," I said, pacing the tiny apartment. "They sold my future for Ava's photo shoot, and she's out there posting about family first like she didn't orchestrate the whole thing." Jake didn't miss a beat. "Move out, dude. You can't stay in that house. They'll drag you down with them." He was right. Living under my parents' roof was like sleeping in a viper's nest. I had already found this studio, signed the lease with hands shaking from adrenaline and fear, but moving was a logistical nightmare. My savings were gutted from buying back the PC, and my parents had just pulled a new low. They'd frozen my access to our shared bank account, cutting off the $500 0 cents emergency fund I'd kept there. A text from Mom confirmed it. "You want to be independent? Fine. You're on your own now. The message stung, not because I needed their money, but because it was another reminder that I was disposable to them. I spent the next day scouring my PC for signs of tampering. Late into the night, my worst fears materialized. A login attempt pinged my freelance account, the IP address tracing to a server in Eastern Europe. My heart pounded as I traced the breach. Someone was probing my client files, the kind of sensitive data that could tank my reputation if leaked. I deployed every trick in my cybersecurity playbook: two-factor authentication, IP bans, encrypted backups, but the stress was a vice around my chest, keeping me awake for days, my eyes burning as I watched my monitors for any flicker of intrusion. The next morning, I gathered my proof of ownership, receipts, build logs, bank statements, and headed to my parents' house for one last stand. Dinner was the perfect stage, the whole family trapped at the table. Ava was scrolling through her phone, probably curating her next viral post, while Mom dished out lasagna like we were in a Norman Rockwell painting. I dropped a folder of documents onto the table, the thud silencing their small talk. "This ends now," I said, my voice steady despite the fire in my veins. "You stole my PC, my property, and sold it for $1,500.00. I've got receipts, logs, proof it was mine. Pay me back, or I'm taking you to court." Dad scoffed, leaning back in his chair like a king dismissing a peasant. "You're under our roof, Lucas. Everything here belongs to us. You don't get to threaten your parents." Mom's eyes narrowed, her voice dripping with disdain. "You're so ungrateful. We did this for Ava's future. She's on the cusp of something big." I slid the reseller's transaction receipt across the table. "You sold my $5,000.00 rig for $1,500.00. That's theft, plain and simple, and you did it for Ava's selfies, not the family." Ava finally looked up, her lips curling into a smirk. "Oh my God, Lucas, are you seriously threatening Mom and Dad over a computer? You're pathetic." "Pathetic," I snapped, leaning toward her. "You suggested they sell it, didn't you? You knew what that PC meant to me. And you let it happen." She rolled her eyes, unfazed. "I might have mentioned you weren't using it much. Not my fault," they agreed. "Maybe if you weren't so obsessed with your little games, you'd get why my brand matters." I wanted to flip the table, but I held my ground. "This isn't about games, Ava. That PC was my career, my future. You manipulated them, and you don't even care." Dad slammed his fist on the table, making the plates rattle. "Enough! We'll pay you the $1,500.00, but you're done here, Lucas. No more support, you're on your own." I laughed, a bitter sound that echoed in the tense silence. "I've been on my own for years. The difference now is I'm done letting you walk all over me." The next day, they handed me $1,500.00 in cash, their faces tight with resentment. I took it without a word and met Vince in another sketchy alley, the rain soaking through my hoodie. He handed over the PC, but his smirk sent a chill down my spine. "You're not out of the woods, kid. I've got copies of your data. Think of it as insurance." My stomach twisted. This wasn't over. Vince's threat hung over me like a guillotine. But I had my rig back. I set it up in my new apartment. The hum of the fans a small comfort against the chaos. That night, I logged into my esports team's practice server, determined to prove I was still in the game. But a message from a rival player, RazorX, stopped me cold. "Heard you're slipping, Carter. Thanks to your sister's posts. Everyone knows you're a mess. Step up, or you're out." Ava had taken her betrayal public, posting on Instagram about how I was sabotaging her career, painting me as the jealous sibling trying to tear her down. Her followers, hundreds of thousands of them, ate it up, flooding my DMs with hate. Then it got worse. A notification popped up on my phone, my home address posted on a shady forum, linked to Ava's fanbase. Dangerous situation 4. I was doxxed, my personal details exposed to a mob of strangers. Threatening messages poured in. "Watch your back, Lucas, and you mess with Ava, you mess with us." I changed my passwords, locked my accounts, but the fear was a constant pulse. every creak in the apartment making me jump. I threw myself into moving, packing my gear in secret and stashing it at Jake's place. But as I loaded boxes into my beat-up Honda, I noticed a black SUV trailing me, its tinted windows glinting under the streetlights. Dangerous Situation 5. The car followed me for blocks, weaving through Capitol Hill's narrow streets. I floored it, heart-pounding, and lost them in a maze of alleys, but the license plate matched a vehicle Jake had seen near Vince's warehouse. They were coming for me, demanding extra payment for my data, and I had no idea how far they'd go. Back at my parents' house, the tension was suffocating. Mom cornered me as I packed the last of my things, her voice soft but laced with guilt. "Ava said you didn't need the PC anymore. We trusted her, Lucas. We thought we were helping the family." I froze, my hand gripping a box of cables. "Helping the family? You sold my future." "Because..." Ava batted her eyelashes and spun a lie. "You didn't even ask me." She flinched, but didn't respond, retreating to the kitchen like her half-hearted apology fixed everything. I left a note on the counter. "I'm done being your doormat. I'm building my own life. No drama, no confrontation, just a clean break." I drove to my new apartment, Jake helping me unload under the cover of night, the rain masking our movements. Setting up my PC in the studio felt like reclaiming a piece of my soul. I went live on my streaming channel, the Pacific Northwest Invitational looming like a beacon. My viewer count was small, 50, maybe 60, but their support was a lifeline. "Keep grinding, Lucas," one commented. "You've got this." For the first time in weeks, I felt like I wasn't alone. But my family wasn't done with me. The texts started the next morning. "Mom, you've betrayed us, running away like a coward. Dad, you're throwing away everything we've done for you." Ava posted a cryptic Instagram story. "Some people can't handle family loyalty, priorities." Her followers piled on my inbox a war zone of insults. Then a family friend, Mrs. Larson, from down the street, called me. "Lucas, your parents are in trouble. They've been borrowing against the house to fund Ava's influencer gigs. They're drowning in debt." The revelation hit like a punch. Curiosity point 3. Were my parents hiding a financial collapse tied to Ava's schemes? Had they been gambling their stability on her fleeting fame? I didn't want to care, but the thought gnawed at me. Curiosity point 1. Was Ava deliberately sabotaging me, not just for the PC, but to keep the family's resources locked on her? Her manipulation felt too calculated, too precise. The pressure didn't let up. Pressure point 3. Ava's rumors had spread to my professional circle, with a rival cybersecurity firm Nexus Tech emailing me. "Heard you're unstable, Carter. We're happy to take your clients." Curiosity point 2. Had Vince leaked my data to Nexus, using Ava's drama as cover to undermine me? I doubled down on my freelance work, lending new clients to prove I wasn't broken. But every night, I checked my logs twice, the doxing threats echoing in my mind. Curiosity point 4. Would Ava's fan base escalate from online harassment to something physical? One night, as I streamed, a viewer dropped a cryptic message. "Check your backups. You're being watched." My blood ran cold. Dangerous Situation 3. I traced another breach attempt, this one from a local IP, and found malware embedded in my PC, Vince's doing, no doubt. I spent hours purging it, my nerves frayed, knowing a single slip could cost me everything. Pressure point 4. Razer X, my esports rival, upped the ante, leaking doctored clips of my practice sessions to make me look incompetent. My team's trust was slipping, and I had to perform flawlessly to keep my spot. Moving day brought another scare. As I hauled the last box to Jake's, the black SUV reappeared, this time blocking my path. A man stepped out. Not Vince, but someone colder, his eyes like steel. "You owe us, Carter," he said, tapping a USB drive against his palm. "Your data's worth more than you think. Pay up or it's on the dark web by tomorrow." I bluffed, heart hammering. "I've got backups and a lawyer, try me." He laughed and drove off, but the threat was real. Curiosity point 5. Was there a deeper reason my parents always chose Ava? Did they know something about her or me that I didn't? I settled into my apartment, the weight of freedom and fear intertwined. Pressure point 5. My parents' final blow came via email. They'd reported me to the bank for mismanaging the shared account, locking me out permanently. I was truly on my own, but it lit a fire in me. I poured everything into my stream, my viewer count climbing to 200, then 300. My freelance gigs picked up, new clients impressed by my hustle, but the shadow of Vince's threat and Ava's betrayal loomed large. One evening, Jake came over, his face grim. "I saw your mom at the store. She's a mess, Lucas. Says you've abandoned them. But I heard something else. Your parents took out a second mortgage for Ava's latest brand deal. They're underwater." The pieces clicked. Their desperation, Ava's endless demands. It was a house of cards, and I'd been the only one holding it up. I blocked their numbers, the guilt trip's too much to bear. Dangerous situation 4. That night my apartment buzzer rang at 2 a.m. No one was there, but a note was taped to the door. "We know where you live." Ava's fans or Vince's crew? I installed a security camera, my nerves shot. The invitational was days away, and I was a wreck. Sleep-deprived, paranoid, but determined. I streamed a practice match, pulling off a clutch play that went viral, my viewer count spiking to 1,000. The chat exploded. "Lucas, you're a legend. Screw the haters." For the first time, I felt seen, valued for my skill, not my family's drama. Dangerous situation 5, but as I logged off, my screen flickered, a message flashing. "You can't hide, Carter." A live feed of my apartment appeared. Someone had hacked my webcam. I yanked the plug, my heart racing, and called Jake. "I'm in trouble, man. This is bigger than I thought." The next day, I confronted the truth. I wasn't just fighting my family or Vince. I was up against a web of lies, greed, and danger that threatened to destroy everything I'd built. But I wasn't backing down. I fortified my systems, trained harder, and leaned on my growing community. The invitational was my shot, not just at the prize, but at proving I could rise above the chaos. As I prepared, a single thought burned bright. I wasn't their doormat anymore. I was Lucas Carter, and I was building a life they couldn't touch.